Southern Ontario is gearing up for the Canadian National Exhibition next month. This will be the 145th edition of the CNE, and it runs a little more than 2 weeks. But there is another number attached to the event. The CNE says it has received a record 54,000 online applications to work at the fair this summer. The X has about 5,000 openings to fill. Last year, about 4,000 people applied for jobs at the CNE. This backs up figures that show youth unemployment is rising to its highest level in 16 years. So to help us understand the challenges faced by youth, let's bring in Jermaine L. Murray. He's a hiring coach and founder of Jupiter HR. It's an organization helping people navigate the job market, and he joins us today from Toronto. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What do those numbers say to you? 54,000 people applying for jobs at the CNE. What does that tell you about the current situation?
It doesn't render a lot of hope about the current situation. It's a crazy market out there. When I speak with people all the time, we make the joke that it resembles the Hunger Games more than a traditional job market, but it is super competitive. It is super cutthroat, and it is wholly in favor of the employers.
In favor of the employers. And we do know that the youth unemployment rate, it's currently at its highest it's been since the mid-90s. What is different this time around, as far as you can tell?
It's an interesting time just because of what's going on geopolitically, but what's also been going on with the economy. And it's like three once in a lifetime disaster events intersecting all at once. And it's just made everything just super murky. And then when you think of what's on the horizon with conversations around AI and how that could look to supplement actual human labor, there's a lot of cynicism, honestly, that's out there. There's still hope and there's still things to be positive for. But when you talk to the average person that's in the job market searching for a new opportunity, it's understandable why they might be a bit cynical.
What about young people in particular? What are they telling you when they're out there trying to get a job, particularly a summer job?
It's rough. A lot of times it's very hopeless from when you're talking with young people. And I think the most frustrating thing is that they've done everything quote unquote right. Every single piece of advice that they've been given or that they could find in order to how to stand out in this job market. A lot of them have been applying it successfully, and they're not getting the results or the returns that you would expect from that kind of expenditure of energy. And so there is a lot of frustration. There are a lot of people starting to question themselves. It's almost like the market's gaslighting them and saying you're doing all these things wrong, but not revealing what it is that they were doing wrong, or what it is that they're even doing right. So I keep using the word cynical because, when I think about this, when you think about talking with youth or kids or people that are younger, usually there's some sort of optimism that approaches their perspective or their way of life. And when people think about, when youth think about their future, they think about employment, not just for the summer, but for beyond, there is a heavy dose of cynicism where I've never seen it before or experienced it before. And I was somebody that went for their first job during the '08 recession, and it didn't feel this hopeless.
So what are you telling them then when you're speaking with these young people that are feeling that way and having these sorts of issues, finding in some cases, like you're saying, even just their first job? What are you telling them?
So a lot of times I tell them that the best thing that you can do for yourself individually is to make yourself stand out and to develop your skills. When the reason why for a lot of entry level or for a lot of youth jobs can be a bit daunting or can be super competitive is because there's this perspective that employers have to invest in teaching and ramping up and instilling certain skills in younger workers. So I've been encouraging them to take initiative and look at entrepreneurial endeavors as a vehicle for skill development and enable to them to, stand out while also being able to develop those skills. On the flip side, if the entrepreneurial endeavors turn out to be successful, they might not need a job at all. And when I'm talking to younger folks, the Gen Zs and even some Gen Alpha, there is this, like I said, cynicism around the traditional getting a job aspect. And you have more people thinking like the route of, say, like a Mr. Beast or a content creator is a more viable route than more traditional means. So there are people that are kind of mentally gearing themselves up to be like an entrepreneur in terms of pursuing that kind of career path. So getting them to find other ways to develop skills while kind of in pursuit of that is usually a good combo that like addresses both needs in parallel.
And just finally here, Jermaine, I have about 30 seconds left. What concerns do you have right now around what could happen if we don't get on top of some of these issues right now that are leading to youth feeling this way?
Yeah, honestly, I grew up in the 2000s, and there was always this idea that you didn't want youth to be idle with their time. You wanted to find ways to occupy it for them to redirect that energy. And jobs are a great way of doing that. Third spaces are a great way for doing that. And my biggest concern is that systemically, we've made it harder and harder for youth to get employment and for them to also have third spaces and other resources to create community. And when you have a lot of times on your hands, it's easier and easier to be tempted by paths that aren't ideal for your future. So there is going to be a ripple effect if we don't address this. And to think about it, we owe it to our youth to address it. And that's what's going to make us have a more patriotic experience as like Canadians.
Okay, Jermaine, thank you. So great to have you on this important topic. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Jermaine L. Murray for us.